Hello. Is this thing on? Very quick, sudden, like erratic in between stream. I am currently in the middle of getting ready, and I thought, well, I'm sitting here anyway. Why not do it with you guys? So, don't mind me as I put my face on. You may notice I look a little bit dressed up, and I'll show you guys the full outfit in just a sec. I'm actually going to play a kind of mafia-esque game with friends in person. So I'm dressing up to play the part, whichever part I end up getting. Scars, welcome in, welcome in. Let me have some water because I'm thirsty. And I'll decide what kind of makeup look I want to do, because the vibe right now is like pirate chic. So like, what kind of makeup suits a pirate? I don't even know. I'm just gonna like rustle around in my makeup bag and whatever the hand draws, as my auntie likes to say. I can start with the classics, like just mascara, maybe a bit of blush, and we'll see where to go from there. Eyeliner? Should I start with eyeliner? Maybe. How are you doing, Scars? Very impressed with you guys. Always like so quick on the draw. Like I press start streaming and it's like 1 second passes and like you guys are already here. So that's very nice. This is going to be a pretty short stream, I think, for today, because I have to get ready. I have to host, and I've got like some snacks that I need to put out and stuff like that for however many hours we have of killing each other and role-playing as if we're villagers from an old town. The game is called Clock Tower, if any of you guys have heard of it. So let me see. Do I have my white eyeliner here? That's a good place for me to start. If you guys want to know what I'm rifling through, this is it, and it's a little bit dirty. Just don't look at that. Just casually. Hello. Yeah, I've been away, but I'm back, and I've missed you guys. So there's gonna be lots of streams in the future, hopefully, surely, where you can tell me all about what I missed, starting from literally, what the hell's been going on in pop culture, because I've been away from basically all of it. What's been happening, who's been getting together, who's been breaking up, who's been cancelled, who's been revived. That's really the main stuff, right? Huh. Maybe I put it somewhere else. Forgive me if I'm a bit scattered. More than usual, I suppose. Hello, handsome. Welcome in. I am... There it is. Searching for lost treasure. A white pencil. I'm gonna go back to sleep again if my dad catches me. That's very fair. I'll keep my voice down. I am just getting ready to transform myself into Pirate Emmy. And I hope that I haven't worn this pirate outfit on stream for the different clothes challenge that we're doing, but I was like, it seems like a pretty safe bet that I would not have worn this in the past 28 outfits, but I didn't check. So anyway, I want to sharpen this pencil because it's not really in focus, but if you're wanting to put a pencil on your face, especially on your eyes, it's good to have a relatively sharp one, which seems a bit counterintuitive, but I swear it's true. So I've got my little sharpener here and my little rubbish box, which I'm not going to show you because it's full. And just kind of sharpen it up a little bit. Okay. Easy. It's got like some smudges from my other eyeliners and stuff. You like the poetry stream? That's fantastic. I have so much fun when I get to nerd out about my favorite poems and poets. And last stream that we had, which was the day before last, I was basically just sharing some of my absolute favorites that I've repeated on here before. But to me, at least, they never get old. And so it's like I have this thought in the back of my head that goes something like, well, there could be someone hearing this poem for the first time, even if I've said it like a million times. If I've read it to myself a million times or shared it with you guys a million times, there might be that one person who's like just stumbling across and potentially finding a new love of their life. And so that kind of, that helps me justify the woeful repetition. But it's true, my favorite poet is you guys. very, very true. So what I'm going to do now is zoom in. That's right, this way. And because I have a mirror, but I want to try and see if I can use this. I'm going to like color my eyes with white. Oh, is this going to work? I don't know. This is the hardest part. Like, I hate touching my eyes and like getting close to my eyes, but I have to like put on my big girl pants sometimes if I want to look like the true pirate that I'm meant to be. More light. I know. I could try this. You guys tell me if this looks better or worse, okay? Is this better? I think that's better. Good on you, Space. Now I need the utmost concentration as I try not to poke my own eye out. And Scars, I think you're right. I'm pretty sure, like, most people have not redeemed their golden cherries. So feel free to let her rip, though I will say, because my time is limited today, depending on how involved it is, I might have to fulfill it in whatever capacity when, you know, time allows for it in the upcoming streams. That's crazy. Can you guys see that? There's a white line in my eye. A scary redeem would fit quite well. Oh wow, that's rather sadistic. It's good that we don't have any jump scares, because I quite like my eyes. Having them, I mean. Wow, did that work? Did that do anything? I can't even tell. My sister, she's great with makeup, and she can do this so easily in like one swipe. She doesn't even like flinch, she doesn't hesitate. And sometimes when she used to like live here, she would do my makeup for me, and she'd be like, don't move, and I'd be like, you know. And I haven't really progressed since then, to be honest. How am I gonna do this? Maybe I should just cut my losses and use a mirror. Here's my mirror. Ta-da! I actually didn't do too bad with that side. The white looks quite pretty. Thank you very much. It's like a, I don't know what the word is. Surprising, like eyeliner color, I think. Because typically you get like dark colors, black, brown, sometimes blue, but white, it's kind of like, oh, look at me. And so, forgive me guys, I'm gonna look down for just a sec. It's supposedly meant to make your eyes look bigger. I don't know if it works, but I think for the sake of my pirate costume, we're gonna go there. I know that the pulling of the eyelid and everything is really gross to look at, so I apologize. Just look away. Look away. Look away. And of course, it's been like 2 seconds and I'm singing Elvis. Oh god. The actual feeling of putting like a pencil on your waterline is very strange. It's quite like exquisite, but like not necessarily in a good way. It feels like this shouldn't be happening and I want it to stop now, please. I could actually, yeah, if I did poke myself in the eye patch would be the perfect like accessory. Funnily enough, I don't have an eye patch, so that's the one thing that I probably should invest in for this, because you can't be a pirate without an eye patch. That's quite blasphemous, to be honest, but I don't know. For next time. The chemist will have them. You're right. Should I go down to the chemist? Am I that invested? Ugh. Did that do literally anything? I can't even tell if I like that. Yeah, I don't even have a peg leg. I'm a fraud, guys. I'm a fake pirate, it's true. But not where it really counts, if you know what I mean. A pirate's life for me. Okay. That literally didn't do shit, but we're just going with it, okay? It's something to do together. Yeah, are you or are you not? Next up, blush. I can put this away for now. Yeah, amputate that leg, you poser. I know, if I really wanted to commit to the bit. Oh gosh. What else do pirates do? They plunder. I mean, think of some inappropriate things to do with that, but they plunder booty. I think I've got that covered. They download films. You wouldn't download a car. Yes, I absolutely fucking would. You know what I mean? I always found that ad to be quite funny because it's like, you wouldn't download a hamburger and eat it. And it's like, let's be real, I probably would do that without second, like, guessing. You know? Like, I would absolutely just press that shit. And if I got a virus, well, just part of the territory. Oh gosh. The dress is very fashionable. Thank you very much. You guys will get a proper look in just a sec. And you can tell me if I pull off the pirate look or if I'm just a poser without a peg leg. Becoming a cutie. That's funny. This is like, it's quite, what's the word? Maybe silly. Because this is literally just the normal makeup that I would do, like on my everyday look. But I'm branding it as a pirate look because that's my character for today. Or at least the character that I'm going as. I don't know what character I'll actually be given when we play. We're going to play a game called Clock Tower. And it's a bit like a role-play murder mystery type thing. You get given a role. You're either on like the good side or the bad side. And yeah, it's scary for me because like my poker face needs some work. I'm not going to lie. And so I'm a little bit worried if I get the evil role. Like I'll have to put on a straight face. They'll be like, are you the devil? And I'll be like, no, what would give you that idea? I'll be like, okay, we got it. Game over, you know? So I don't want to ruin it for everyone because like I have a big group of friends coming, roughly like probably 10 or 11 people, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even more. And so I want to make sure that I'm not the one who just spoils it for everyone by being too whatever it is. But yeah, pirates can be pretty sus, it's true. I can be pretty sus with or without the pirate outfit, so I guess that fits. What's next? Mascara. Oh, and I can show you guys something that might be like fascinating or terrifying depending on how you look at it. But this is an eyelash curler. My previous one was broken, and so for the longest time I just didn't curl my eyelashes. They stuck fucking straight out. Like, what did I say? I like compared myself to the Simpsons who have 3 eyelashes. That's how I feel when I don't curl my eyelashes or put on mascara. But the way to use this little torture device looking thing is you put it right up against your eye socket and try and squeeze your lashes in between. It's really hard to see, and I don't have the best setup for this, but you just kind of press it down relatively hard so you can give it a bit of a curl. And did that work? You guys can be the judge of that. Maybe it's better after mascara, so I might try it again after as well. Also, if you warm it up, it's meant to help like kind of with the shape as well. But you know, they're just like, it's a very lazy operation today. Is that an old school one? Is that true? I wonder what do the new ones look like? What are the like high-tech eyelash curlers out there doing? I know there's an old school trick where you use a lighter to warm it up, and then like you can even use like anything metal, like a spoon, the back of a spoon. Fake lashes are also a good option, though I will say I don't wear fake lashes really that much. Like maybe once or twice in my whole life, to be honest. I find that I'm not great at applying them and they look kind of fake and they feel kind of weird, obscuring my vision. Though I think when they're done well, they can look really pretty and like really nicely frame someone's eyes, like curtains, you know? usually I'm fine with just mascara or like a semi-permanent eyelash lift. If you guys know what that is. It's like really getting in the weeds now, and I'm sure you guys totally care 100% about this. But it's like some kind of chemical relaxant that you can put on your eyelashes, so they kind of stay curled for like 4-ish weeks at least, which is nice. It's kind of like that thing we were talking about last stream, being high maintenance in the short term to be low maintenance in the long term, because then instead of having to do this every day and this every day, you just wake up and it's like you've already done it, and that's like, it's priceless, even if it only takes like 5 minutes a day, you know? It's just like the I woke up like this feeling. There's no beating it. And so I haven't done that, an eyelash lift, in a while, because it can be a bit pricey. And so if I'm trying to save money or cut back, that's like those vanity related pursuits are the things I start with to cut back on. But it's surprising, like it can make a difference. They say that the eyes are the window to the soul. So it's nice to decorate the frame. A rare Emmy, it's true. This is a very rare Emmy. Not only am I in a rare outfit, but I'm also in rare form today, which could be a good or a bad thing. We'll see. And I know this is a pretty close-up view. We don't typically stay so close up, I will say that. Don't go away, please. Just while I'm trying to half put myself together. And you also get a front row seat to the mess in the background, which has kind of been there for a hot minute now. A cool pile. Thank you. It's funny because this isn't even the worst by a long shot of like how bad my floor drobe, or I guess in this case couch wardrobe, has like ever been in my life, you know? Like when I was a little younger and still living with my parents, there were times where I could not see the floor, in fact, because there was too many clothes. There were too many clothes like strewn about. I have somewhat matured since then, but still, maybe not fully. And Thirth, this is for you. A wink from Pirate Emmy to you, so a very rare wink actually. Ding! With an eyelashed mascaraed eye. It's a combo breaker. Oh yeah, and you might see me cleaning up the edges as well after. Are you sure that's not your carpet? Back here, this is my couch/bed, which is not very functional right now because it's covered in stuff. But usually it's actually quite pretty because I've taken it down now. But there's like a nice little canopy that goes up, and when I have the proper lights working, it's all quite magnificent and quite like aesthetically pleasing. But we're a work in progress right now, and I actually had to take down the canopy like short term because I was having an inspection done for the whatever those things are called, the heater like vents in the ceiling, and so I knew, okay, I should probably move anything that would get in the way of that. But then I just didn't put it back up again. So I will do it. I shall do it. And see, look at welcome in. This is going to be a shortish stream, so I'm not even sure how long, but Melody's welcome in too. But what happened to my big bed? So my big bed is in the other room. So there's like kind of 2 bedrooms in this house, and this is kind of like my bedroom as well. Like I would consider myself having 2 bedrooms, which is very, very spoiled. I know. And so this is what I call my like study / kind of napping room, I suppose, and dressing room, because I have all my clothes back there as well. Yeah, it's very lucky. I totally agree. And my beautiful big princessy bed is in the other room, and I would have loved to have had that as a like what's the word, like a decoration in the background of my stream, but that other room is too small, unfortunately. It's like just enough. The room is just big enough for the bed itself, and that's about it. And so it's, again, another one of those first world problems, but I'm happy enough to use this room for all my streaming needs. And it kind of is nice to separate those out too, like have a purely rest focused area and kind of a more active multi-purpose area, you know, like separates out those very different energy level activities. Not that it really does much for an insomniac like me, but still, it's the effort, it's the thought that counts. Yeah, we need a princess command. Oh god, don't tempt me because I will absolutely do it. Holy shit. That's quite funny. I was thinking of also doing some dark eyeliner on the sides. Should we do that? Do I dare and do I dare? That's where I get scared because, like, it's really easy to mess something up, especially if you have shaky hands like me. And, like, with black, it's hard because you have to start again, but... Shit. Should I just, like, go for it? I also have another little pencil that could be more forgiving. A little pencil that I need to sharpen as well. Always needing to sharpen my liners and stuff. Is that satisfying? I don't know. Gotta lock TF in. That's right. Okay. That's okay. Can you guys hear the sharpening? Even without makeup, you look pretty AF. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say. I don't always feel pretty, but you guys always certainly make me believe that I am. Which is, you know, it's very humbling. It's very flattering. We got some rare ASMR too. Guys, you're getting everything today. Aren't you absolutely spoiled? Oh, goodness me. Let's see how we go. Ooh. What a simple line can do. Now, this is the tricky part, trying to make them match. Oh. Please. Maybe. The actual concentration. I really can't see that well, so don't worry guys, I will absolutely double check this before I leave the house. Oh god. Okay. They're more like cousins, not twins. I think that's okay. Just like filling in my brows as well. A little bit. They don't usually need much. It's like the one perk of having bushy ass eyebrows. Okay. Still in the family, exactly. What more could you wish for? And then I guess I've covered a lot of the basics. Just something for like some lip color. And I was also thinking of using this like shimmery powder for like maybe a vampiric kind of look. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. It's like this thing. And just like, does that actually show up at all? Can you even tell? Probably not. I also think I should put on a necklace because it's so bare. I feel like a pirate would have more, like, would be showing off more, you know? As for the songs, I haven't gone through all of them yet, but I have gone through a decent chunk, and I've fucking enjoyed so many of them, if not all of them. Like, even the ones where I'm like, oh, this is not the style that I'd usually listen to, I can still appreciate the artistry that's gone into it. And that's so cool. Because you guys, I think I said this last time, know me way too well. really enjoyed Fiona Apple. And I could definitely hear the influences that everyone else has had, like, concerning her, if that makes sense. Like, she's kind of like the blueprint. And so that's been cool. Yes, please feel free to just recommend away, and, you know, eventually I'll get through that stuff. Like, it's something now that I just put on while I'm doing something, like writing or just chilling, relaxing in the background. And it's like keeping me company, which is quite nice. Does that show up at all? Like, can you tell that there's a literal tiny microscopic shimmer on my face? Maybe if there was like, wait, what if I do this? Oh, holy shit. Okay, that's kind of giving like Twilight. It's kind of giving like Edward Cullen type beat. Wait. Ooh. The face? Is the face giving? Maybe? Wow, I should just have a spotlight on me like this the whole stream. Like, what the fuck? Okay. It looks great. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going Twilight Pirate Princess. Like, that's the vibes. Should I show you the full outfit before I choose whatever color I'm going to choose for my lips? Let's zoom out for a sec. Hopefully that's fine. This is what we're working with. Ta-da! This is outfit number 28 out of 365. And yes, I've got the ripped tights as well. Not ripped for the costume specifically, but it seemed to work. And so, you know, some sheer stockings. And I think I will put on, I have my classic necklace that I always wear like every day. This one. But I don't know, like, is that piratey? Like, I think a pirate would be more show-offy. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't really have that many fucking jewels, you know what I mean? I'm not dripping in jewels. I'm not dripping in finesse. It don't make no sense. So, should I just try this at least? They'd have big gold. Yeah, they'd have something loud and flashy. What do I have? Do I have anything loud? Are you dripping in finesse? It don't make no sense. And I know that typically the pirate theme is gold, but I'm a silver girly. So, again. Oh, is this gonna work? Come on. Or, like, do you guys think it's better if it's just bare? Because that's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean. You know? I need to get your opinion on this because it's literally going to drive me crazy. If I were a Renaissance sailor, I'd be persistently hitting on you. That's funny. I love the word, like the addition of the word persistently. Like, it's already assuming. Oh, God, that's funny. Sorry. I don't mean to laugh. It's endearing. It's cute. It just kind of already implies within itself that you would need to be persistent. Does that make sense? Like, I wouldn't be receptive at a first glance type beat. It's quite funny. You guys crack me up. The bear gives, pirate that slays. I was thinking that too. Because, like, sometimes, like, less is more. Do you know what I mean? Like, less can really be more. But it's hard because you have to restrain yourself. And I'm the type of person that has trouble with that, to be honest. So, okay, let me see. You guys saw it on. Let's try it again, just bare. It's because it's actually, if I think about it, and this might sound quite banal, but I don't really have any other, like, daily or even, like, kind of more dressy, uppy, like, outfits where this much of my décolletage is, like, kind of exposed. Like, I have shirts and dresses that may have like more of a V cut or whatever, but like it's just like blank. And there's kind of something a bit elegant about that in a weird way, even though it might seem a bit like boring, you know what I mean? But anyway, a big fancy word. I don't even know if that's the right word. It happens a lot where I'll just say a word and hope that it means the thing that I think it means. I just mean this area, including the shoulders, I guess. But the straps kind of break it up so it doesn't feel like it's too much. But yeah, like in most of my shirts and stuff, and I wouldn't consider myself that prudish with what I wear either. I tend to like favor just comfortability and function. If that means something low cut, then it's not typically something that bothers me. But like something that's so, I don't know what the word is. I don't know. It's almost like, yeah, it's almost like a statue in a way. Clear skin. Thank you. I mean, I think this camera might be doing me some favors because I actually did, this is so funny because last stream we were talking about how when I was in high school, I took this medication to help me stop breaking out, right? And like just recently, like as of a week ago, I actually had like a bit of a, I don't know what you call it, not a rash, but like some irritation just right here. And I don't know exactly why. I think it might have been just like, I don't know, just like one of those random things that you get. And I was like, oh shit, is that gonna stick around? I hope not. But it seems mostly to be fine. And then just these freckles here, which are how you can tell that I'm actually me and not a clone. Anyway, what can I say? Manifesting no rashness, exactly. Manifesting that for everyone, to be honest. It could have been stress, yeah. And actually, that's a good point there. Let me turn off this heater. Because even if it's not necessarily just straight up stress, I think this is a part that I like touch a lot. I don't know, I think it's pretty normal actually when people are talking, when they're emphasizing something, when they're surprised, or like it's just a spot that I kind of reach for quite a bit. And so it could have just been that, like for some reason. And I don't smoke and I don't drink, but I do sleep quite poorly, so that could be contributing in some weird way, shape, or form. Thank you for the hydrate as well. Cheers. Yeah, it could be quite irritating, I agree. And so I'm glad at least now that is cleared up. So lips. The final frontier. I actually have a lip gloss that I think would work nicely, but I think it's in my bag. I'll have to grab it. It's supposedly like color changing. That's what it says. Just be 1 second. Actually, let me just bring my whole bag. Here it is. And there's a couple of options in here. This one is kind of cool. It's like iridescent. The water bottle history needs to be studied. I totally agree. I was just thinking that the other day. We've had a very, like, I don't know, a progression or a regression of water bottles on this stream. And right now, it's not even like one that I necessarily think is better than the rest. It's just kind of like circumstantial. And you can see here, it's seen better days. It has absolutely seen better days. This is meant to be color changing as a lip gloss. And it's one of my favorites. It's quite old, probably expired. Don't wear expired makeup, guys. Like, do not do what I do. At the very least, just, know what you're getting into, the possibilities. I'm sad because this particular lip gloss is actually discontinued. They don't make it anymore, and I checked. I was willing to even pay a premium, but they just stopped making this particular lip gloss. Rose exclusive, and I don't know why. So yeah, it's like, it really is one of those times where it's like, oh man. So now every time I use it, because I love this lip gloss, So I want to use it often, but every time I do, I'm like, oh, I'm just getting closer and closer to like having it be empty. So because today's a bit of a special occasion, I think I can bear it. But let's see if it actually does work, and if my lips change color over the course of this stream, let me know. It's supposedly meant to like react to either your pH, the pH level of your skin, or the heat of your skin, and so we'll see how it goes. Sometimes with these types of lip products, and there's actually like lip balms and lipsticks that also do a similar thing, they change color. It's unwise to use them if you have chapped lips, like I do kind of a little bit right now, because the difference, like the chappedness and the not chappedness, you'll see the difference in color. But I think as a pirate, you can kind of get away with it a little bit. So we'll see if it's stark. And yeah, if it changes to blue, let me know. That's quite funny. I'd like a lipstick that changes to blue, just randomly, once during your day. It's already running out, like it's really, I have to really dig in there. Is it even changing? Having hot skin is quite funny too. I do get hot when I stream. Something about like, I don't know, the entire production that is warming. This might actually be like it. I might just be right at the end of the tube. No more fan, at least not right now. Since this room is like so poorly like insulated, in winter it's freezing cold, it's winter now, and in summer it's boiling hot. And so I have to like have seasonal decorations that come in and out. Either my heater that's like right next to me, or the fan. And both of them are quite annoying actually, I'm not gonna lie. They're both noisy, but the heater, sometimes the heater will just randomly pop, which you guys might hear on occasion. And if I'm trying to sleep, that's really annoying because it's like, you never know when it's going to happen. So it just scares you. Differing levels of loudness, differing levels of frequency of the pops. And I'm just like, I ain't nobody got time for that, you know? So I usually try to turn it off if I can stand it, but it gets quite cold in here. Did that do literally anything? This might literally just be the end. The end of the tube, guys. Maybe I'll double up. Be colder. Yeah, I know, right? And you guys have no idea how cold it gets in here without the heater. It's fucking like, it's Arctic, guys. So, I don't know why. It might be below 10 degrees Celsius. Next time I'll have to find a way to measure it. Is there a way to measure it? Like, this is gonna sound totally stupid, on your phone. I think you just need a thermometer, right? That's funny. Yeah, it is Arctic, at least in my opinion. Can phones measure temperature? God, I'm really showing my ignorance right now. So I'm just doubling up with this. It's meant to be a clear lip gloss, but also a bit of a like spicy one. So just for that extra shininess. Yeah, I'll get a thermometer and see how cold it gets. And then in summer I'll see how warm it gets, because it's literally like, it's crazy. And it's not even the same weather as outside. It's like this room has its own fucking weather. It does what it wants. Okay. This is kind of what we're working with, and I did try to curl my hair, but like always, it's dropped out literally 2 seconds after I tried. So, Pirate Emmy. Ta-da! Out of focus, Pirate Emmy. Puffy sleeves, Da, da, da. Thumbs up. Um, and maybe yeah, just bare neck, and we'll keep it classy, classy pirate tavern wench. Vampire pirate tavern wench, like hybrid. So slain like no pirate ever slayed. Thank you very much. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Hmm? No earrings either. Oh, yeah, I have a medallion. That's very Pirates of the Caribbean. Do I have a medallion? I'm trying to think. Like I said, I don't really, yeah. I don't have many jewels for a few reasons. Like, money. But also the sensory stuff, I guess. Like with earrings, they can be a bit, like, weird feeling. And having something just like, I don't know, around my neck. It has to be something that I've sanctioned and I've gotten used to. Something simple like this. I don't mind chokers. But yeah. Do pirates wear bandanas, do they? They could. Like a little, like necktie. What are they called? Like a, not a cravat. Fuck. There's a specific word for those little neckties, but I think that's more like a, it's a different style. An ascot, yes, thank you. That's more like a 70s, 80s look, which could be fun. But yeah. Took me like until 2023 before I was comfortable wearing a watch. I also get like, I totally get that too. I have an Apple Watch that I used to wear a lot when I was in my sporty era. And that, even that was a bit of a challenge because it would start leaving like an indent and it just like starts feeling weird at a certain point. I was like, I just want to rip this off, you know? But it was like great for tracking stuff and I guess just telling the time and all that. So yeah, I totally understand that. An indent, yes, an indent. And yeah, it's just like weird having a fucking rectangle on my wrist. I don't know why. But yeah. I guess also the band, it doesn't always go with everything because it's just like this blue plastic. So maybe if you have a more timeless watch, then it's like it kind of goes with more outfits, but yeah. Yeah, the rubber can be a little bit weird. It gets sweaty and gross. You have to wash it. And so yeah, a rectangle on my wrist. It's like might as well just go Spy Kids on it. But yeah. I had to stop wearing my smartwatch because I couldn't stop incessantly checking my heart rate. I also get that as well. It's like, it is very helpful for productivity and stuff, but also it ends up being quite a distraction too. Like, because every time you get a message, it shows up, right? And then instead of being kind of able to ignore it, like if your phone kind of buzzes in your pocket, I think there's like one more step in like removing your phone that sometimes you can ignore. But if it just literally flashes up right in your face, it's almost like impossible to ignore, you know? And so, yeah, I feel like it's a boon and a hindrance, depending on how resilient you are in terms of ignoring those notifications that come up. But yeah, an ultrasonic cleaner would be cool because it can get a bit like nasty if you don't like wash it thoroughly. I did an all right job, but even then, like sometimes I'd take it off and be like, oh, that needs a scrub. So, that happens with everything though, I guess. But ultrasonic cleaner, that shit is satisfying. Like that's kind of the ASMR category for me. I don't even know why. What's the most common use for smartwatches? Oh, I use mine to change my Spotify song to the next. That's a good one. I think I used it mostly for, yeah, it was mostly just for like checking messages at a glance and some of the fitness stuff actually, like tracking how long I was walking or running for, or like my heart rate during a workout and stuff. But now I don't really work out that in that way anymore, at least. Like I go to the gym and stuff. And so I don't really wear it that much anymore. But yeah, Checking the time is also a good function for a watch, I will agree. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I have the watch. I probably should wear it more often. Um, but yeah, it's quite funny. Like, the fact that a watch can now like function basically like a phone. Again, it just boggles the mind sometimes. Um, yeah, multi-purpose. It's true. Um, Invisibly, you actually have a point there too. I wonder if maybe I just don't like having my wrists like caged, because we talked about this last time, just how they can be a bit finicky and a little fragile. Having them free to roam, free to do what they want is like a preferred state for me. Gets in the way sometimes of writing or yeah, other things. You have to take it off, like if you want to have a shower or a bath. So maybe you can put some cotton balls underneath the watch too. That's funny. Honestly, the cotton idea for the glasses is pretty good. I haven't tried it yet, but I'll let you know if I do. Because, yeah, I was dealing with that issue of like having the glasses stems kind of rub in an uncomfortable way against my head. So, I wonder how I would even do that. Like, how would I stick them on? Anyway, that's a future Emmy to figure out. How did you guys go yesterday, since I didn't stream? I was considering it, actually, but I ended up having a bit of a movie night with my brother and my auntie. And so I just thought, family time, you know? And we watched... What did we watch? Oh, it doesn't bode well that I can't remember it. I'm literally blanking right now. Scarface. It was great. I really liked it. I don't know why that took so long. It was not like I had imagined it to be, because I'd only seen like kind of the pop culture references and stuff like that. I thought Al Pacino was a fucking powerhouse in that film, and because I hadn't really seen his other works, I just knew the name kind of. And the one with Al Pacino, I didn't know there were multiple. And yeah, I thought it was incredible. The music was so good. The vibes were pretty good. It was a compelling story. Like, characters were complicated and complex. Sometimes with those types of films, like, it's a very clear like villain and a very clear kind of good guy that you're meant to root for. But here, it was a little bit more muddy than that. And sure, there were people doing bad things and things that you would probably not condone. But it was messier, and the motivations were a little bit more human feeling, as opposed to like a caricature of someone like in the mafia or the cartel, for example. And so, yeah, I really liked it, and I had some thoughts about it, which we may have to go into at some other time, because it may take up just a full stream in and of itself. But to those who have seen it, like, was I reading too much into like the relationship that he had with his sister? Tony's relationship to Gina. Because, like, I thought it was a bit sus, I'm not gonna lie. And in general, I felt like the film almost had this kind of like, I don't know, this charge to it. Like, the way that, because it's like, okay, this very macho world where these men are trying to show how tough they are, like, they're trying to outdo one another, they're trying to posture and be like the big dog, right? But what that just ended up doing was like a lot of really intense kind of sexually charged scenes where these men are just kind of like in close quarters and like staring at each other and like grappling kind of. And it's like, I don't know, it just seemed like an interesting choice. Like, there's a lot of tension between the characters. And because kind of the female leads, I guess, were more supplementary, it just had that effect of it being like, oh, okay, what am I picking up on here? The influence of baking powder could dilute the senses. I totally agree. And I also found that to be quite funny by the end, where there's just like fucking like mountains of cocaine on the table, and he just like kind of shoves his head in. Like, honestly, that's kind of iconic. at that point, when you're that rich, you don't have a cocaine addiction, you just have a cocaine habit, right? And so, yeah, the big snort is quite funny. And also, I felt like this may be naive of me, so feel free to also share your guys' thoughts if I'm missing something here. But I felt like the portrayal of drug usage and just like the effect it seemed to have on the characters was really well done. Because like sometimes I think in movies or maybe just in pop culture, like someone does like a little bump of cocaine or whatever, and then they're like, whoa, man, I'm like fried. And it's like, that's not really like, sure, that probably happens sometimes and it depends on the situation, but it's kind of more subtle than that. Not that I've fucking done cocaine, but you know what I mean? I just feel like they played it really naturalistically to a certain degree. And then the real masterful acting comes afterwards, you know, like when it starts wearing off. And that's when you see kind of the more like the aggression and the paranoia and stuff, which was played so well because it was hard to distinguish between his actual personality and where he may be like his judgment may be clouded by some kind of come down or, you know, just the effects of being under the influence. And so I thought that was really well played. They didn't overplay it and they didn't underplay it. And especially with the context of like regular users. I don't think someone who does mountains of cocaine like every day would do a little bump and be like, you know what I mean? Like they'd probably just be like, all right, cool, let's keep going. Like, you know, it's like kind of their way to stay normal at that point. And so I was really impressed, and I was impressed by the restraint I think they showed. Like, which is a funny thing to say because the film can also be very, very campy. Like, you know, there's fucking guns, there's people like storming in and shit like that. It's like high octane in the moments where it counts. But in some of the actual more like grounding moments, things that make you actually believe in the world and the characters, that it's like something that you could feasibly see happening in the world. Like they really played it quite like straight in a way. And I respected that because, you know, as someone who like writes stories and stuff like that, I know the impulse firsthand, like to make something as like not extreme, but like maybe magnificent or like as wow as possible. But like the director and like everyone involved in the movie, they really played their hand well. I have not seen The Godfather, but that may have to be my next film because I've been watching all the classics with my auntie, my brother, because my parents' house is free essentially. So I go there, I do like little house sitting stuff, I water the plants, and sometimes we just watch a movie. And so, yeah, that might be next. We'll see. But there's something about those really classic movies that are like almost inspiring, you know? Because for me, it takes a lot for me to watch a new movie. As you guys know, I'm usually stuck on my Cat in the Hat, like Austin Powers fix. And it's because I know that I'm going to have a good time. I know what to expect. I'm going to get these laughs. I'm going to get these like tender moments, and it's going to be cool. When I take a chance on a new movie, I'm like, am I really about to like invest 2 to 3 hours of my time into something that could be terrible? Which I know is probably not the best way to look at it. But seeing those movies, it just makes me want to watch more movies because it's so good. And like you see the artistry of the medium come through in a way that can't be replicated by any other medium, right? And to the point where this might sound a little bit silly, and I don't really know what to say other than it's true and not that extreme. But like there have been times watching, like for instance, when I was watching Scarface and some of the other movies that I've watched recently, including Dead Poets Society, where I literally got goosebumps. And it's not because anything crazy was happening. It was just like the combination of all the elements working together to make a really perfect scene for whatever reason. The music hitting right, like the shot hitting right, the composition, the actor, like just acting their ass off. Like it all merges together, and I get this feeling like from head to toe of like goosebumps, and I'm just like, wow, it's incredible. And yeah, I like that feeling. I think it's really cool to see what other mediums can offer that is uniquely theirs in a way, you know? Because I definitely get that like goosebumps feeling when I read poetry and when I listen to music. Um, but it's like it's a different kind of feeling. Each medium offers up its own level of exquisite whatever it is. And with movies, it can really be that bombarding of the senses because it's not like you're just reading something. It's like you're listening, you're looking, you're kind of like immersed in the characters and the story. There's like multiple sensory things happening at once. And yeah, if that's what another medium can do, imagine a large. That's a good one. It's quite interesting, and I want to watch more movies because of it, because of that feeling and the deep respect for the craft. And like we were saying, like speaking of Lord of the Rings melodies, that idea that like so many people came together to make this wonderful thing, you know, like it's a totally different vibe to what I'm used to, which is quite a solitary activity, writing on my own. Like sometimes I get advice from people, or like, you know, in university we had workshops where it was like a classroom situation. But in general, it's more like something that I do on my own and maybe get to share it if I'm lucky enough. But if you think about a movie, it's like hundreds at times of people involved in the making of this thing, the amount of coordination that goes into it, the amount of like luck at times and human effort and passion that literally has to go into it. Like it's a necessary thing to even allow it to exist is quite marvelous. And so, yeah, I mean, that also is kind of like a meta consideration that I sometimes think about, and it boggles the mind a little bit. Like people cooperating, holy shit, on that large of a scale, it's impressive. And so I have seen Eternal Sunshine. It's one of those movies that I put into a category of I loved it and I can never watch it again because it just makes me, like, it gets me too in the feels. It's one of those movies where it's just so sad, or like not even sad, but like it brings up so many emotions. It's like I can only watch this if I want to like actually ensure myself to cry, you know? But it's another classic and one that I would recommend that everyone watches at least once, if you don't mind kind of like putting yourself through the ringer for a bit. At 2K followers, who knows? We might do a Lord of the Rings like watch along. I don't want to like admit something that's like too embarrassing, but I want you guys to guess who my favorite character is. Have I said it? Did I mention it last time? You guys will probably be able to guess it because I don't know, you just know me. Oh god, I have not seen Lord of the Flies, but that could also be an interesting one to watch. It's like one that they kind of make you watch in school or read in school, but instead we did like What's Eating Gilbert Grape and Romeo and Juliet and stuff like that. But yeah, Eternal Sunshine is great. I can definitely see why it's your favorite. It's actually, for a while, it was the favorite movie of multiple people in my friend group, which is funny. It seems like kind of a rare thing, but it's that good. And yes, I've only read the first book, but I have seen all the movies, the extended versions. And my favorite would probably be based on both, I would say. Probably more the movies because I've seen more of the movies, but yeah. Yeah, Gilbert Grape in high school. I know, right? That is quite funny. I'm glad someone pointed that out because it's a demanding story. At least it feels like it. And I don't mean in terms of its complexity in that way. The language isn't necessarily dense, but like it's demanding in terms of like the empathy required to engage with it, especially for like high school students. You know what I mean? We read/watched the movie. We did both in like, I want to say year 8 or 9, though don't quote me. We were young, right? And when you think about it, like, it's like, okay, this autistic boy, right, who's the main character, and his morbidly obese mother, and it plays it like it doesn't pull any punches in the way those characters are portrayed, right? It doesn't hold back. It doesn't try and like skirt around what it's portraying. And that can be difficult because kids can be fucking little shits, you know? As much as I love kids and I think they're wonderful, strange, funny creatures, they still are creatures, you know? They can be pretty unempathetic and just by nature of not being like, you know, fully online yet, as in their brains haven't fully come online yet. And so when we did that film and when we read the book, it was, I think it was handled pretty okay. But it was something that I look back on and think, I wonder why they picked that. Was it for that exact reason? Like, was that a lesson in empathy? Was it a lesson in trying to withhold your prejudice and, like, seeing someone as a person, you know, like, despite the differences that their life may contain to yours? And, yeah, at the time, it was an interesting choice. Like, I don't know why they did that. We also read Apocalypse Now a little bit later on, which was cool. Read Heart of Darkness and watched Apocalypse Now, I should say. I think that's the movie that was based on. And that was interesting because, like, damn, okay. Some pretty heavy themes, like heavy hitters, you know? And I could see that it would lead to potentially bullying instead of empathy. I wonder if they ever thought about that, if they were like, this may be just too emotionally and socially complicated. Perhaps they just trusted us, which may be a comforting thought. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's a weird thing, right? I have not seen Blade Runner, though I want to know from you guys, is it worth watching? Is it worth watching? Is it based on a book? Or is that Maze Runner? Like, is there a thing? Is it Blade Runner and Maze Runner? I don't know. Got to start the heavy hitters young, totally. The creator, welcome in. Hello. And I'm sorry, we are about to start ads in a sec as well. Very annoying. Please forgive me. Let's see. There was something that I missed here. Movies on my Saw Once, Never Again list. Requiem, I can't say that word, for a Dream. Grave of the Fireflies, and Schindler's List. I haven't seen, either. That's for two. I haven't seen any of those either. But I know what they're about vaguely, so I can see why, especially Schindler's List. And to answer the question from earlier, so I don't like leave you guys hanging, my favorite character, I love Aragorn, and of course, how could you not? He's like fucking, besides being ridiculously handsome to the point where it's like, okay, rude. His character is so it's so refreshing, like so noble, and just a mix of all these wonderful traits, especially like these masculine traits that I think usually get overlooked. Like he's kind and noble and considerate, and he has grace, and yeah, like he's protective. Those really sweet qualities that sometimes get overshadowed by the more like macho displays of masculinity, which can be fine and fun too. But he has that perfect balance where he's quite clearly a very like masculine figure, you know, but he also has that little bit of softness and that kind of like tenderness that I think the characters in Lord of the Rings are kind of known for. Camaraderie and like just that general sense of being decent, well-rounded people, good people, you know? And yeah, all that to say that Aragorn is probably my second favorite character. My first favorite character is, do you guys want to guess? Or I'll just tell you, is Faramir, a man of quality. And I don't know why, it kind of crept up on me actually. I think when I first saw the extended editions of the movies, that's when I kind of realized, oh, this guy is actually really interesting. And there's a complexity there to the character. And so, yeah, it also helps that he's quite cute as well. Though I will say, a lot of the Lord of the Rings men, they looked so good, all grimy and with their long hair and stuff, like out in the woods and stuff. But then as soon as they finished those movies, they like went back to short hair, and I was like, you guys, you grime up good, you know? It's like stick with the I don't know, the sweaty ranger look. And yeah, he's also, you're so right, the moody romantic for Faramir. Like, I think I haven't gotten to this point in the books, but just from like what I've seen, like, and read about in online and stuff, he's kind of like the poet, the sensitive poet type, which is definitely up my alley, you know. And the fact that he has daddy issues, that just adds a little bit of like a lemon twist, you know what I mean? Because it's fun to have characters that are played quite straight, like Aragorn. He's noble and sweet and good and kind, and he wants what's best for people, right? But in that way, he's played pretty straight. Like, he's kind of like the Superman of the series. That's not to say he's faultless, but with someone like Faramir, who's got a bit more complexity, and even his brother, you know, who's kind of got like a bit of like some issues to resolve. I think that adds some level of interestingness, you know, like some depth, essentially. And yeah, that's one of many reasons. And yeah, David Wenham, I didn't realize that he was Australian. I didn't realize that a lot of the like actors and extras and stuff were either Australian or New Zealand-ish. And I mean, I guess that makes sense. They filmed most of the movies there. But yeah, it's really cool. And you guys will have to help me with this, please. If anyone knows what this is called, I desperately need to know. But whatever accent it is that they're doing in Lord of the Rings, like, please tell me what that accent is, because it's so lovely to listen to. It may also just be the verbiage that they're using, like, but I swear they're also putting on some accent. Like, it's kind of like a British-ish accent, kind of, especially with like Faramir. Like, he's like, fuck, I can't even, I'll make a total fool of myself if I try and recreate this, but the way they talk, because David Wenham, like we've said, is Australian, but he doesn't sound Australian in the movie. It's like, yeah, it's that Middle Earth accent. That's so true, but like, how are they doing that? Because I love the accent and I could listen to that all day, seriously. It's like, a chance for Faramir, Captain of Gondor, whatever it's called, to show his quality. I can't even say that without blushing. Though I did think it was kind of funny in a goofy way when he said his own name. What does he say? Faramir, Captain of Gondor? He literally says his own name and his own title to himself. It's like, okay, it's cute, but it's kind of goofy, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, a Western accent, I guess that must be it. But yeah, it's probably just like some kind of medieval-esque British accent. But like, just the way they talk, it's also quite gentle. So it's not just the verbiage and it's not just the accent, but it's also the manner in which they speak. It's kind of like, it's just shy of like a kind of Shakespearean like monologue, you know? Like, oh, fuck. I wish I had an example off the top of my head. Like, you wish now that he and I had swapped places, you know, or whatever he says. That Boromir had lived and I had died. Like, there's something about the cadence that's kind of like got this poetic quality. But anyway, yeah, it's like the stories unfolding as they speak. Yes, it is flowery. That's very true. And I'm sure that is the influence of like Tolkien's writing in there. By the way, hello Ben, welcome in. I think there's just something about when you're using that kind of language, it changes the way that you may deliver the lines almost, you know? Yeah, I'll have to like show you guys some more concrete examples at some point. This is just me like thinking off the top of my head. I couldn't quite place it, you know? And so, yeah, that flowery, almost poetic kind of way of speaking. It's very soft-spoken for the most part, unless they're like trying to rile you up for battle. Also, I should give a special shout out to Éomer, which is probably not the right way to say his name. Éomer? But yeah, it's like, I think he doesn't get enough screen time, to be honest. He's pretty hot. Oh, sorry. That's not like the only reason why I like him, but you know. The language they use just has a nice cadence to it. I totally agree. And they all the actors do it in different, like, to different extents. But it's so pleasant to listen to. It's like, yes, keep talking. Like just whisper poetry to me all day, please. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. That's exactly right. Aomer, it does not hurt at all that he's quite, like, he's broodingly handsome in a weird way. You know what I mean? And Cody, this is for you. Ready? Ding! Another rare wink for today. Being a Lord of the Rings fan tracks. It's funny you should say that because this is only a relatively new obsession of mine. Like, when I say relatively new, I mean a few months or even less. And so I've fallen hard, guys. I've fallen deep and I've fallen hard. It's bad. It's really bad. Like, even as we speak, I'm trying to be cool about it. Probably failing, but you know. There was a reason why I watched and rewinded The Fellowship on VCR and repeat as a kid. That is so funny. Tell me, is it Arwen? Is she in the first movie? I think she is. Also, yeah, Arwen. Holy shit. Like, she is... I had this thought when I was watching, like, the series. It just, like, came to my mind, like, unbidden. It was something that just popped in my head. And it was when I was watching just her on screen. And I said something to myself like, oh my God, the camera loves her. Because she's just so beautiful. Like, you can almost, like, there's almost like this, like, anthropomorphizing of the actual camera itself. It turns into, like, this, I don't know, this beautiful frame of her. And she is literally probably, for me, like peak hotness / peak beautiness. Just perfectly everything. And so yeah, I thought to myself, oh my God, the camera just loves her. And yeah, just no notes. Goodness gracious. All the rewatches were just to see the way Aragorn opens the doors. Yeah, it's so true. There's like that gif that just like is apparently viral. The way he just fucking comes in and opens the doors. I don't know why, like how can someone opening a door be, but I guess it is. I guess it just is. And it's interesting because like with the Lord of the Rings books, like that whole side of things, like the kind of the hotness factor and like the romance factor is pretty like, it's pretty not there, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not the main focus. Like, the world is fucking about to end, guys. We need to focus. That's kind of the vibe. They teased it out a little bit more in the films, right? But it's interesting because there is just so much latent kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, like eroticism in a lot of the, like, moments and scenes and the implications of what's going on. There's something about like being in such close quarters for such a long time with these really unbreakable bonds of like brotherhood and friendship and fellowship. Like, yeah, and of course the actors, like, why are they so hot as well? Like, when you put all that together, it does create this kind of like interesting vibe, like this interesting tension. And I understand why Tolkien kind of put the romance stuff on the sidelines, you know? It just wasn't really the focus. But when it comes to like, I don't know, something like a film, especially, where you get to see them and like see their reactions and it's human and it's gritty and it's like this passion there. It's bodily and it's messy. Like, you really see, I don't know, it just kind of comes up naturally in a way. And so, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it's like, why are they all so fucking hot? And yeah, I don't know. That's just food for thought. Aiming for decadence. Those movies were, I think they were aiming to show how much they really admired and adored the source material. And so for me, it definitely comes through, but I have heard rumors, which I don't know if it's true or not, that like Tolkien himself or his son didn't like the movies, or they didn't want them there to be movies, which is kind of sad. But I thought they were wonderful. The Hobbit films, on the other hand, I don't know. I watched them a while back and I didn't really think too much of them, so I might have to reserve my judgment. But yeah. Don't get me started on Lord of the Rings, guys. Seriously. Um, Faramir. He's my favorite poet, which is probably unsurprising. My opinion on the Hobbit films is that there shouldn't be three of them. Honestly, I would agree with that. I know why they did it, kind of, but like, yeah, and some of the effects. Even like there were a couple of effects in the Lord of the Rings series that I kind of like thought, it's pretty, pretty dated, or at the very least kind of obvious, where the green screen was quite obvious, or like, yeah, it just kind of was a bit jarring. But what can you do, like Po Buddy's Nerfic type beat? Yeah. I used to read these books under the desk in class during primary school. That is so cute. Also, reading these books in primary school, smart kid. The fact that this stream is turning into a Tolkien nerd fest is a dream come true. We might just have to rebrand, and I'll call myself like Elf Maiden Cherry 4 or some shit like that. Because yeah, I have been pretty much nerding out, like, basically non-stop. But yeah, hurry before the jocks hear us. Yeah, like if some like jock type or like some sporty type comes by, I'll just be like, so yeah, I was at the gym. I was, yeah, and I was doing crunches. That's what people do, right? They crunch. And okay, they're gone. Yeah, so the Sindarin translation of the original poem. Okay. Oh gosh. But yeah. I'm going to try not to flood you guys with all that nerdy shit. Try and like ease us all into it. But it's been fun because there's a lot to like, and there's a lot actually that makes sense to me why it would be up my alley. Like the linguistic side of things, the incredible craftsmanship of the words, like the prose itself. Like I heard, and this may just be a rumor, so please don't quote me on this or take this with a grain of salt. But when Tolkien was writing, I heard that he specifically only tried to use like old English words. And so he would go through the text, like kind of, in that fine-toothed comb way, and take out any like Latinate words or words from like a French or even Greek origin and replace them with ones that were like more Old English or like Norse, And that's why when you read it, it has that very specific kind of vibe to it. It's got a very specific cadence, and it's what some people, when they try and write fantasy, it's what they miss. And so you get this kind of like interesting feeling, like the fantasy worlds of like amateur writers maybe, or imitation writers, they can't quite capture it. Like they can't quite capture the vibe because it either feels too modern or like too of our world as opposed to of the world that it's trying to convince us of. I don't know, does that make sense? But when I read Lord of the Rings, I feel utterly convinced of the world that it's presenting to me. Like, yeah, this was an actual place, and that Tolkien was just like documenting it, Like he peeked in to an alternate universe and just wrote down what he saw. And that's an extremely high compliment. Like it's basically the end goal if you're a writer. And so sometimes, even with my own work, I read it back and I'm like, I don't believe the story that I'm trying to sell here, essentially. And it could just be like for a really simple reason, like maybe the names aren't working, like they don't feel like they're rooted in anything real. The character motivations are too unclear. And so the language itself can really be helpful in anchoring something to a sense of realness, Like, yeah, it makes sense that all the language would come from like that old English/Norse kind of origin, because like that's the world that he's trying to sell us on. And so yeah, being a professor of Norse studies, it makes sense. And the amount of effort that it would take to pull something like that off is astronomical. Like I think it honestly is hard to imagine how he did that. Eventually I'm sure it just became second nature, but holy shit. Like, do you know how many words come from like Latin or Greek or some other place that would have to be changed out. Usually they're quite simple words, like the Old English words and Norse. So usually short syllabled words, like 1 or 2 syllables, compound word like nouns and stuff like that. It does add this kind of rustic, simplistic charm to it. And yeah, it makes it feel lived in, at least in my eyes. And knowing that it's like meant to be a translation, it's a whole thing. But yeah, he sold me the world. And so yeah, I highly recommend it. If anyone's looking to just get a taste of it, you know, you can actually get the full like 3. It's not really a trilogy per se. It's more like 6 volumes. You can get the whole series online for free, just like as a PDF. If you want to just get a little taste test first, and just read the first few chapters and see how you feel, because like just as a learning experience, it's pretty cool. And the way that things are named and the way that the language is used to differentiate characters, but also explain the history of things. It's really cool. It's like the language is deceptively simple, I think, because it's doing a lot of stuff in the background, you know. But yeah, Emmy Cherry for Faramir. That should be my new name. Yeah, that's quite funny. Oh gosh, yeah. Even Middle Earth sounds cool. I agree. It's like it's I don't know. You can see, you can feel and read the passion that comes through. Like the many, many years of having this world in his head, no doubt, and writing about it, like every little different thing that maybe wouldn't even make it into the main books, but like just writing down random cultures from like fucking centuries ago. He's like, yeah, it'll be good to write down like 50 fucking names for like a family tree, you know, like to get to Aragorn eventually. Like he just did that shit. And it's like, okay, respect. Yeah, he is in the best possible way. This is like the utmost compliment, a super freak of expertise, passion, creativity, and perseverance. Perfect. I could not agree more. And I agree also that it's probably like a once in a lifetime thing, like once in our lifetime thing. Like to have someone that prolific, that dedicated, and that good as well. It's that rare breed of like the middle of the Venn diagram, you know? And yeah, I just think that we're quite lucky that we get to enjoy his world and his characters and stuff. And you can see the fingerprints of his work in basically every kind of fantasy and fantasy adjacent piece of media that followed, which is pretty cool. It's like I read this quote actually, and if I can find it, I'll send it on the Discord, but it was kind of like how Tolkien actually became such a monument of the genre and adjacent genres that like it was almost like similar in iconicness and like iconography to something like Mount Fuji in a lot of Japanese artistry. Like either being very noticeably present in those adjacent mediums and medias and genres, or utterly absent in a way that also speaks to an intentional like consideration of the original thing, right? So to simplify that, it's kind of like Tolkien was so prolific and so influential that basically everything that followed in those genres had like a mark of his somewhere. And even if they had absolutely no mark, that in itself is a mark because they're purposely trying to distance themselves, right? Like trying to create a vibe that is distinctly different and other. But to make yourself other, it's in relation to something, right? And so in that way, it's pretty cool. It basically is just like as utterly there and present and unmovable as something like Mount Fuji, which I think is very, very true. So, yeah, Tolkien was him. I agree. Even the poetry as well. There was a particular poem in the first book that made me kind of emotional for some reason. If you guys want, I can try and find it. I have the like actual books, but I could maybe find it online. The gist of it was, I think it was told by Bilbo. Just like musing. Oh no, was it? Anyway, The poem was about musing on like past events and future events, the what ifs of the world, kind of almost lamenting all the stuff that we may miss just with our short kind of lifespans, and the wonderment of like, oh, I wonder like what will happen in the future and all that, you know? Um, and I wonder what happened in the past before I was here. And the poem itself kind of like deliberates on that a little bit. It's quite charming and quite quaint. But then by the end, the part that got me choked up was the kind of snapping back to reality, because the poet hears little feet like scuttering outside and is just reminded like of kind of like the present here and now and the thing that's most important to them, kind of. And yeah, specifically about how despite all the wonderment of what may happen in the future or what has happened in the past, the thing that they always wait for, I think was the terminology, is the sound of those little feet. And like, I was like, oh God, just stab me right in the heart, why don't you? Charming is absolutely the word, Melodies. I definitely agree. If I find that poem, I'll read it to you guys. Because also it's just very, it's nice. Like, it's kind of pastoral and a little bit existential in a way. But then it just like, it so sweetly just snaps you as a listener / reader back to reality, to the present moment of like, not even like someone coming into the room, but just like the sound outside of life happening while you're actually here, like not in the future and not in the past, but right here and right now. Life is actually still happening and it's worth enjoying and kind of listening out for eagerly. Like I was like, fuck, man. Really, you got me like all in my feels on a Tuesday. But yeah, there's a few other poems as well that I also quite liked, but it was that one in particular that got me. And I can't remember now, like when in the book it was, or who even was saying it, but I'll find it maybe for next time. Yeah, so anyway, this was not meant to be a full-on Lord of the Rings stream, but here we are. It's funny, and this does happen whenever I find a new like piece of media that I really like. It does kind of color some of my own writing for however long, like either consciously or subconsciously. So a lot of my poems recently have been almost playing with that like Shakespearean light feel, or even like that kind of old English feel. Not trying to be too on the nose with it, but like playing around with language in that sort of way, which is maybe different to how I normally would play with language. And it's quite fun. It's like, oh, okay. It's a bit like a puzzle, but different to the puzzles that I usually make, in the sense that thank you for the follow, Sam. Sorry, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's almost like if a normal poem, to create one, you have to think like laterally. With a poem in that kind of style, the Tolkien kind of style, it's lateral and also vertical, if that makes sense. And so there's like multiple dimensions to it, and I think it's fun. I wonder if I can find anything they've written that is a good example of that. Not really poems, but fiction. The fiction piece that I sent off to the journal actually utilized a little bit of that. And it's the one that I said, I don't know if I should read it out loud because it's still under consideration. Maybe a sentence would be fine. Maybe. And yes, so Sea Locket, it's so funny you mentioned that, because it was the exact piece I'm talking about is with Ada and Odin. So what do you guys think? Should I read a little bit of that to you? Looking forward to your next 3 million page epic. Is very funny. It's coming, don't you worry. And yeah, I also do agree that we are influenced by the media that we consume, even if we like try to avoid like blatant copying. It just like adds to the mix, like the melting pot of all the stuff that we take into consideration. Hopefully, I mean, like, if you're aware of it and stuff, you can use it to your advantage and just like synthesize things into your own voice, as opposed to just feeling like you're blatantly ripping something off, you know? And so, yeah, like, I don't know if I've succeeded, but it's a work in progress. And of course, like a lot of things, part of the life's work that we do. If you're going to borrow something, recontextualize it. Exactly. That's exactly right. I do have my little thing that I submitted to save my own ass. I don't think I'll read the whole thing, but maybe a couple of lines to kind of show you the example of like a more Tolkien-esque vibe slipping into my work. I'll have to find it. It's called For When the Sky Feels Heavy, and it's about Odin and Ada. You guys down for a little bit of reading? ASMRing? If it's ASMRing? And I don't even know how much of this to read. Okay. I think I know a good place to stop. Because especially when it comes to like natural events, like natural disasters or weather or stuff like that, it really comes through. So a little sneak preview. And just as a warning, this is pretty thirsty. So keep that in mind. Okay, we're going to Thirsty Town because of course it's Odin and Ada. It's got to be thirsty. So For When the Sky Feels Heavy. And by the way, don't tell anyone that I read this to you because I don't know if I'm allowed to, considering this is under review for a journal. It should be, right? Anyway. Thank you for this, I said. Really. Odin was kneeling by the clawfoot tub, just about done with refitting the taps, his focus absolute, a sculptor coaxing function from stubborn metal. Pleasure, he said. Sweat gleamed at his temples, darkening the roots of his hair. What are friends for? True, though I didn't expect you to come over and fix it yourself. I was just calling for advice. His fingers, deft and grease-smudged, tightened the last fitting with a final, resonant click. The rushing water sighed into the tub, a sudden, liquid chorus. Sounded pretty urgent on the phone. But regardless, you know I'll always come when you call, Ada. And then there's a lot of parts in this text actually that have like italicized bits to show that she's thinking in her head only and not saying stuff out loud. So I don't really know how to show that besides just saying she's thinking. So this is what she's thinking. Don't think about the latent innuendo. Don't imagine him well-trained like that. Spring-loaded, voice-activated. For any reason, he continued, warmly. He turned the taps off, sat back on his heels. If you need me, I'm yours. It doesn't matter why. Don't think about it, don't think about it, don't think about it. You're a one-stop shop, I said, laughing nervously. Pulled my robe tighter across my chest. I think I definitely get the more generous deal in this friendship. You don't, he said simply, wiping his brow with the back of his wrist. I get to look at you. Odin. There, he stood up, unfolding to his full height. I had to drag my head up to meet his eyes. Bathing crisis averted. What would you do without me? I know, right? You've earned a shrine. I'll light candles in your honor. He rubbed the back of his neck. Odin, ever mercurial. Yeah. Was in the area when you called anyway, buying gifts for Ina. He gestured vaguely towards the hallway, where a constellation of glossy shopping bags rustled near the front door. Yeah, I saw those. I peeled myself from the door frame, where I'd been lounging like a wilted question mark, trying for nonchalance. Gifts, plural, too decadent to ignore. What for? Her birthday is weeks off. He chuckled. It's Valentine's Day tomorrow, Ada. You forget? Heat, swift and prickling, swept up my neck. That's embarrassing. It's not, he reassured me, wiping his wet hands down the faded denim of his jeans. The same jeans I'd been pretending not to study for the past hour. Now, just strap in, guys, okay? I'd done a pretty good job of not noticing the way the worn fabric clung to the powerful lines of his thighs, or stretched taut over the inviting curve of his lap. Now I was definitely not noticing how the rivulets of water darkened the material in stark, possessive stripes where his fingers had dragged, framing his zipper. He laughed for what reason I didn't know, gathered his backpack and shopping bags. Should get going, he mumbled, perhaps a sense of self-preservation kicking in. I nodded, the movement stiff, trying to compress the dark wave of disappointment into something else. Anything else. Stay. I wish you'd stay. That's what she's thinking in her head. The hail began then, unassuming at first. Just a scatter of pebbles against the roof. He took a casual step towards the front door. Just a little longer. His silhouette framed against the fading light. He took another step. Please, Odin. She's thinking that. Hand on the doorknob. And then... a sundering, which kind of means like when something gets ripped apart. And so this is kind of the Tolkien-esque like influence that I feel like I noticed in my own work. The bruised sky convulsed, ripped open by a jagged fork of lightning that bleached the room white for a terrifying instant. Next came the thunder, a primal bellow that shook the shelves. The hail, no longer tentative, pelted the roof like 1,000 furious fists. Then a vibratory hiss sizzled through the apartment, and all the lights went out at once, swallowing us into severe darkness. A rare kind, usually only reserved for nightmares or deep, deep space, the crushing void between stars. Shit, I said. Shit, Odin echoed, a disembodied rumble. Well, shit, damn, I'm not riding home in that. And so that's like the first few pages. It goes on for quite some time after that. But yeah, do you kind of like, am I like crazy or am I actually real? Like, is there some kind of influence there? Because I felt it when I was writing. And of course, it's a very different style. It's like probably, Tolkien would probably just faint if he read something like that. But like focusing in on those little kind of nature-y details and adding a little bit of gravitas towards it as well, which I know it's very, very easy to stray into melodrama, but I'm a fan of melodrama at times, and especially with these characters, like, they are like peak melodrama, and so it's kind of fitting for them. But yeah, Aragorn, he probably has thighs like that, let's be real. That's quite funny. But yeah, I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And so it wasn't something I was intentionally trying to do, but just like from reading and being immersed in his language and the subtle techniques and not so subtle techniques that he uses. Like a lot of people say, sometimes as like a derisive thing, that he's always talking about nature, like every second line like is nature related, or like the whole page is dedicated to describing a leaf. It's like, that's not true, but the journey itself does traverse a lot of land and a lot of nature, and so it kind of comes with the territory, you know? And so, yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where, oh, just cool. Just cool. It's my full analysis. Yeah, and Ben, you're picking up on something that's really, really true, actually. The sky itself, and a lot of the times with these characters, the environment is kind of like a character of its own. And it's kind of, it's up to interpretation if it's like mystical forces that are happening, because like she was literally wanting him to stay and then this massive storm rolls in. Like, was that just a coincidence? Or maybe there's like something to be said about that feeling of being so desirous that it almost becomes a force of nature in and of itself, you know? And so like, it's fun to play with those little ideas. They lean into it more as the story progresses. But from that little snippet, yeah, it's more like ambiguous, like, oh, okay, it could have just been a really poorly timed thing. But even the progression of it, like as each step he's taking that's closer towards leaving, the weather starts getting more and more intense, you know? Um, yeah, magical realism is like so fun because you can play it really subtle, you can play it really heavy-handed, and yeah, it's quite a delight, like whichever way you take it. And yeah, as for Ada, yeah, is she a trusty narrator? Is she like someone that we can actually take at face value when she describes stuff? Because we are like quite in her head, you know what I mean? And because of that, it's hard to tell what's actually happening or what is kind of like her wishful thinking or what is just, yeah, like kind of painted over in, you know, her own bias, because we all have our own biases, right? And so, yeah, I love unreliable narrators. It's honestly, it's probably one of my favorite, like, styles? My favorite types of characters to write because you can have so much room for play. You can play with what's real, what we like allow ourselves to believe, and yeah, her mind is clouded by some kind of emotion, and it's funny. That's a perfect word for it too, like clouded. You know, like it's that weather imagery again. And when you think about the weather, it can be such a great way to like have kind of this external map of like the kind of human body and the kind of processes and emotions that go on in it. Like think about what the weather can do. It can be nice and sunny and warm, like a happy day kind of. It can be rainy and wet, stormy. It can be angry and uninviting. It can be dangerous. Like these are things that these are things that you can kind of map pretty well onto like the human experience, the bodily experience. And it's like, in a way, it can almost get kind of weirdly spiritual. That's not the best word for it, but it's like that idea of like kind of being connected to nature in that way, or nature being connected to you, right? Without spoiling it, later on, Ada does like consider like, oh shit, did I actually make that storm happen, right? It's kind of like this fleeting thought, but like she does consider it. And she's kind of feeling like faux guilty about it because she's like, oh, well, you know, he has to stay here with me. That's kind of exactly what I wanted, right? Yeah, Ada was focused on the zipper. Oh yeah, that's also something that I think, not the zipper thing particularly, but something that I enjoyed from reading Tolkien's work was sometimes the like kind of zooming in effect that I felt like I experienced while reading, through just like the slowing down and explaining of things, you know? Like, certainly it wasn't to do with zippers and thighs, but like when it comes to describing a nature scene or describing like the epicness of a battle, like taking multiple sentences and sometimes even a paragraph to lay it all out. There's a nice kind of unhurriedness to it, you know, when it's appropriate for the scene. And so what I tried to do was like slow it down as well for those moments where Ada is fixated on something, you know, and when she's really trying to like map out something in her own mind for whatever reason, whatever nefarious purpose that she's got going on. And so there was like, I know you guys couldn't see it, but when I was reading it out, there was literally like 2 paragraphs dedicated solely to Odin's jeans and his hands on his jeans, like wiping them, you know, making streaks. And I think as gratuitous as it is, it's also like serving a few different purposes, not only her fixation, the kind of sexual like chemistry or undercurrent between them two, but also like it's kind of, this is going to sound so silly, but just hear me out. It's almost necessary because with these 2 characters, their actual like appearance is never really mentioned. Like their hair color, eye color, skin color, build is never mentioned. That's intentional, right? For the most part, I wanted it to be left up to interpretation, not necessarily for the idea that you can just project whatever you want onto them, though of course I understand that is going to happen. But I think it's because their appearance is so far removed from the point of the actual story. They are utterly obsessed with each other in a ridiculously toxic way. The way they look, like it's clear that they're attracted to each other, right? But I don't think that has as much to do with how they look as it has to do with whatever kind of fucked up mental games they're enacting upon each other, you know? And so their appearance is totally besides the point. You can maybe infer that they're attractive people, maybe to each other. You know, it's hard to really get a gauge of, but like, we don't know if Odin's blonde or if he's brunette. We don't know if Ada is tall or short. Like, we don't know their builds or anything like that. And I think that also adds to that sense of like this kind of ghostly, weird, spiritually connection, you know? They like each other desperately, and we don't even know what they look like, you know? There's an element of like almost withholdingness in kind of almost like in a stripteasing kind of way. And so when she focuses on something like his hands or his zipper, it's objectifying, of course. I don't think she's a stranger to that, and neither is he. But like, it's basically the only window that we get to see from her point of view that doesn't give too much of the game away, you know? And so, yeah, they seem cruel in a pretty way. That is so true. They're very cruel. They're very, very cruel. But they do make it look quite, what's the word? Interesting? That's not the word. Is it exquisite? I don't know. They're horrific people. Like, that's the thing. They're not actually good people. Like, they're not role models by any means. I should just say that. And especially as the story continues, you guys aren't ready, man. Like, you guys seriously aren't ready for this story. Decadent is a great word. Yes, they make it seem so decadent. And they luxuriate in the cruelty in such a way that you almost can't help but get a secondhand thrill from it. And then you feel kind of implicated and like a bit icky, you know? Yeah, you guys should give your casting opinions. I'd love to hear them. And so it's like, it's quite interesting as a writer to try and create characters that are simultaneously abhorrent and horrible people, but see if you can just slide in a tiny amount of sympatheticness. So they're not just people you absolutely hate and you're like, oh, I can't wait to stop reading these characters. Like, there has to be some level of something, some compellingness that is a through line to actually keep people interested and not just want your characters to burn in a fire. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if I succeeded, but I had fun trying to like walk that tightrope, you know? And so with these two, the way that I tried to frame it, and it's not even like in a necessarily, what's the word? Accurate way, but I tried to frame it at least at times like they're not totally awful and evil. They're just tragic. Like almost like in that Greek tragedy kind of way where they're doomed from the start. Like they're simply just doomed to play out these horrible like scenes, right? Because their obsession is so strong, so consuming, so utterly consuming and devastating that it feels almost as if it's as inevitable as a force of nature, right? And so you see that kind of connection tying back in as well. Like when a hurricane comes through and like fucking blitzes a town, like there's no blame that can be put on the hurricane itself, you know? Still, that doesn't like diminish the damage that it's done, or the regretfulness of the outcome. But in that way, I try to frame their kind of whatever the fuck it is, their obsession, as a similar force of nature. It is devastating and leaves ruin in its wake, and still they're almost not fully like to blame, though I think they are to blame, like a decent amount, but not fully. And so yeah, Christian Bale is a great one. Christian Bale he could do any role, essentially. He could probably play Ada, and I would believe it. Florence Pugh is great too. Though I must admit is it Zazie? I haven't seen much of her work, though I think I know what she looks like. Patrick Bateman and Megan Fox. I like how you pick the actual character Patrick Bateman. Oh, fuck, that's funny. Megan Fox. Yeah, I mean, those are good picks. And I think it's interesting and not surprising that, like, you guys have been drawn to very intense characters. Like, they kind of have this charge to them, right? Um, they, and not only are they like sex appeal, like, you know, they have the sex appeal or whatever, but they've just got that kind of intriguingness to them that even when they're being bad, you kind of can't help but watch, and you know, you don't really want to look away. You want to see how it ends. Yeah, Christian Bale, that's a good one. I mean, I told you guys my like kind of weird ass pick, which was like the Lucky Blue Smith and uh Nara Smith. Was it? No, Nara Smith was maybe for Eno. Austin Butler is a good one too. He's one of those types that will disappear into the role. Um, but yeah, honestly, I don't know. I don't know. Patrick Bateman is just perfect for a hot, cruel psycho. I agree. Um, I think also this is interesting. Like, the fact that their appearance isn't mentioned, though we kind of just assume, and I think not on what's the word? Like the text itself leads you this way. We assume that they are attractive people, right? I almost feel like their imagined or actual attractiveness is almost essential for them to get away with what they get away with, you know? I'm sorry, I phrase that so unnecessarily complicated, but it's like pretty privilege, essentially. And I don't think they'd be able to get away with some of what they were doing if they weren't like that attractive, you know? Maz would be amazing. So good. It does make me wonder, like, how old do you guys imagine these characters to be? Because at least with Ada being in her head and hearing her thoughts, like, it seems quite like a juvenile, not juvenile, but like, you know what I mean? There's a girlishness there that I think, at least to me, gives some kind of age range, right? And so I'm curious, like, what vibe do you guys get from that? 26 type beat, interesting. Yeah, charm, yes, of character or look can be a powerful distraction. That is the best fucking word. I was looking for a word like that. Both of them have, I think, their own unique charm, especially to each other, right? Maybe it wouldn't work on someone random like on the street, right? But literally, the story itself is talking about all different manners of charm, like how you can, like the subtle ways that you can get what you want or engineer things to get close to what you want, and how sometimes certain thoughts and feelings can feel like they are more of a spell, like a magic spell, than something that you can kind of control, you know? So there is that element of this magical touch, right? They do say that you're best looking. You are your best looking in your 30s. Is that true? Whew, okay. Watch out, guys. Yeah, I think I'd probably place them in their mid to late 20s. To be honest, probably Odin could get away with being a bit older, but actually in one of my like original drafts, they went to school together, so I guess they'd be the same age. Though I'm not like married to those ideas. A lot of the times I just start writing, and sometimes things come up that I'm like, oh, that could be cool for a piece of lore, but then it's like totally contradicts everything else I've written, so I'm like, oh, just keep it in the alternate universe stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting to think about Odin's perspective. Like, how much does he know? How much, like, is he playing the game just as much? Is he also as, like, is he restraining himself as much as Ada is? Because I feel like we don't get the gift of peeking into his brain, like, other than what he tells us. But we can kind of paint a picture, like, based on his actual actions and what he does. And so Yeah, these if two people have that same sort of freaky going on, it can be a feedback loop. Yes, right. To the point where they'll do almost anything for each other. Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's basically like at its most um at its simplest and most core concern, like a discussion about toxic relationships. It doesn't have to be romantic, you know? It can be familial, it can be platonic. What happens when two people come together and they're just woefully bad for each other? You know? Like, what happens? And that's where the tragedy of it all comes in, I think, and why I would be hesitant to ascribe them as being purely evil, right? Even though they do some pretty fucked up shit. And I probably would acquiesce if someone were to just come away with that interpretation that they were just fucking evil. I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. But it is an ask to like have people consider the shades in between, and I think that leads to a richer interpretation, to be honest. It's more gratifying, at least for me, to imagine there's more going on than just kind of like a fucking cartoon villain, you know, like sociopathic level. It's more fun to imagine that there's actually a human there, like struggling with something and failing, you know? Because, like, so many stories are based on heroes or protagonists struggling with something and succeeding eventually. But that's not always what happens in real life. We try things, we fail, we try things again, we may fail again. What happens if you just actually fuck up and make a mistake or like do something that you know is maybe not so good for you? It's like those stories are interesting because they're messy and they're like they're real and raw and they're maybe a little bit embarrassing, but they're complex and they've got this depth that I was talking about earlier that I find really fascinating, you know? And so, yeah. And invisibly, I'm glad that this is like kind of somewhat generative. That idea of like how fucked up can I make a character and still kind of be like have them be sympathetic. It's such a fun game to play because it's a delicate procedure. It's like you are walking that tightrope. And sometimes even a single line can push you too far over the edge and lose people. So, I don't know, it's like, it's fun. It takes a lot of fine tuning and it can drive you a little bit mad, right? But it's like, it's a bit of a game that you play with the reader. And yeah, with a topic like decadence, and there's like even little echoes in my work to like to gothic fiction, which is such an interesting topic. I don't even know if we've talked about it too much on here. Those ideas of like being pulled by a force bigger than yourself that you literally have no power over, like the body betraying itself, in different ways, like the ways that you can't really hide that well, like a blush, or like, you know, just the different symptoms and signs of arousal. Like those are like times where your body is literally betraying you, even if you're trying to be like calm and collected and cool or trying to behave, you know. That's kind of there's a gothic undertone there of like being vulnerable and at the mercy of not only your body but the person that's kind of there witnessing you. And so, yeah, decadence does reverberate throughout the text. Yeah, it does, and that's a compliment, so thank you very much. They completely lower one another, yes, to deplorable levels in pursuit of their pleasure in one another. I think you've like literally nailed it, honestly. I should get you to write my blurbs. That what you wrote about them lowering each other, like, that is so perfect. And to me, that was interesting because it's like an inversion of the stereotypical romantic text, like whether it's in a book or a movie. Usually, characters come together and they lift each other up, you know? Like they make each other better. But these characters pretty much only make each other worse. But they love it as well. And so it's like this mutual slide into utter ruin, right? Which I guess is also a very decadent theme. like literally the word itself, decadence, has a double meaning because it means excess and lavishness and like overabundance, but it also means like decadence, as in the decaying of things and going downhill and like things kind of crumbling into ruin because of that excess. And so they have both. They get the like almost inordinate abundance of pleasure from whatever it is they do together, the transgressive nature of their relationship. But then they also have like the slide into decay and ruin from those exact same things. And so it's like all part of the package, you know? And I think it's fun to slowly write characters yielding to their worst desires and thoughts. That moment where like that turning point where it's like, I don't think we can come back from this. Or like even more fun sometimes is to go past that turning point and see if you actually can come back from it. Like seeing if the reader will believe it, you know? And so, yeah. That's like the coolest thing, because it's like, how far can you stretch something? And will your readers believe it? Like, will they give you that grace? It depends, I think, how competent you are. So, what kind of fragrances were they giving off during that scene? Oh, that's a great question. Do I mention it? I do, actually. Maybe do we want to read a little bit more together? Kind of highlight what I'm talking about and what I mean when I say they're bad for each other. Because, like, so far, there's just been a little bit of a storm, right? So, it's like, that's not really that bad. I know you guys have, like, listened to me read other chapters that may be more, like, enlightening. But this story, because it was, like, sent off to a journal, was meant to be kind of self-contained. So putting everything else that you've heard about them aside, including their curses, which are absent from this text. Maybe it's subtext, who knows. But I'm pretty sure that Odin's scent is actually explicitly mentioned and Ada's isn't. But yeah, I'd probably go with something like vanilla, because isn't that just perfect, right? It's like, it's sweet and inviting and warm and girly and like deceptively simple, you know? It's the deceptive part that makes all the difference. And so, yeah. I have vague recollections of a postcard. That's very funny. The postcard actually does come up. That's kind of like the thesis of this little story as well. So maybe I'll see if we can get to that part, if it's not too far down in this. Oh my gosh, I need my glasses, guys. Yeah, and the bathtub. So this is basically that story, but fleshed out and attempted to justify itself, like its existence, enough to be sent off to a journal. I need my glasses. Now I'm a pirate with glasses. That's crazy. Oh wait, we're just starting ads. Okay, we'll wait. And then maybe after this, we'll do affirmations and I'll see myself out, since I have to start getting ready. When I say getting ready, I don't even mean myself at this point. I mean the house. A pirate that can see. Yes. That's crazy. I am close to a pirate because my script is different in either eye. It used to be that one had no script, but now my eyes have degraded, so that's... What can you do? Maybe I'll drink some water. You can see over the course of this stream that my hair has literally gotten flatter and flatter. Why do I bother, guys? Why do I bother curling my hair for like 20 minutes to half an hour to even longer if it's just going to do this by the end of it? First world problems. And now while we're in ads, I just want to say thank you for joining me. This was like an impromptu stream. I've just been jumping right into it and like not even having that little warm up. We don't even raid out. We're just like bang in and out. It's like a quickie, you know. It's interesting way of doing things. So we'll see. Probably like try and make things a little bit more professional in the future. But while we're still in this transitory stage, I don't mind that kind of quick and dirty like little check-in. It's just more like accurate to how I normally live my life, you know? like I just be sitting down sometimes and having spare time. Yeah, hit and run streams is so true. And so like instead of trying to force my streaming around or trying to force my life around streaming, try and force my streaming around my life. Does that make sense? Anyway, you guys you get what I mean. Yeah, a written hunt. That's funny. But yeah, I think it's been kind of interesting to completely eschew, to use a great word, traditional advice when it comes to how to run a channel and just do whatever the fuck I want, you know? Like, it's probably going to bite me in the butt at some point in the future, like my analytics or whatever, but at this point, I don't really care. There's nothing worse for your analytics than not streaming at all for like 3 months. So if the alternative to not streaming has to be something kind of quick and dirty and unconventional like this, I think that's a very fair trade to make. Yeah, we ball, exactly right. We should be back from ads now. I don't know how much of this to read because I don't know, like, I know you guys always say this, and you said it last time as well when we were listening to the Club Cherry songs, but it does feel tremendously indulgent to do something like this because it almost feels like I'm saying, oh, look how good this is, and everyone praise me and say it's so good, and like I must think I'm so great to be even reading this out in the first place or showing you guys this. And it's like, it's not really how I feel. I think that I'm decently competent at this point at what I do. At least when it comes to writing. I feel less like that when it comes to music. But still, it's like, ugh, there's some element there that's just icky. Like, I don't know why. Anyway, we're going to keep going and see if we can hit maybe one of the, the first things that they do that make you think, oh, they're actually kind of bad people, considering that Odin has a girlfriend. In some drafts, he's actually engaged to her. So, let's do it. They just saw this storm that ripped through the sky, you know? Yeah, deranged narcissist shares her unhinged ramblings. That should literally be the title of this fucking stream. Oh, fuck me. Next stream. Shit, Odin echoed, a disembodied rumble. Well, shit. Damn. I'm not riding home in that. No way. I'd chain you to the radiator first. I blurted out, the earnestness, scalding my tongue. I fumbled blindly for my phone, switched on the flashlight, because it's dark now. He hummed, would you? Don't answer that. That's what she thought in her head. Let's just wait it out for a bit. I pointed the beam of light towards the living room, a lighthouse guiding him to the couch's familiar shape. Hope it's over quick, Odin said, as he sank into the cushions, surrounded by a rustling plastic sea of shopping. Meant to be cooking dinner tonight. Ina's going to be disappointed, I sighed, perching on the armrest beside him. Sorry for ruining your evening. What are you saying sorry for? He clicked his tongue. I stilled. Could he sense it, that I wasn't really that sorry at all? Outside, the wind howled, rattling the windows, a verbal compliment to my terror. I mean, it's not like you control the weather, he added, sparing me. Save your apologies for things you choose to ruin. His gaze felt heavy, languorous, even in the dark. I looked away. Yeah, he clicks his tongue. And then this is what she thinks in her head. If I controlled the weather, every moment with you would be a perfect, endless summer day. And then this is what he says out loud. Cute, he hummed. He stretched both arms overhead to rest them against the back length of the couch. The movement languid and comfortable. Did I say that out loud, or are you reading my mind? Say what out loud? He responded, his voice too light and lilting to be anything but guilty. I felt his arm against my back. Let's say or. So you're psychic and I'm a weather witch. Was I leaning into him, or was he pressing into me? What a pair we make. I didn't say I was psychic, he corrected. I said, or. Well, I don't believe you. I want to test it. Be my guest, he offered, a low, amused invitation. So I thought of him. Here we go. This is hard to read out loud. Unabashedly, hungrily. Of how the light from my phone had sculpted the high, elegant plane of cheekbones, the shadows deepening the hollows beneath, the sweat-slicked column of his throat, begging for lips and teeth, the impossibly long sweep of his lashes, lowered now in drowsy contemplation or anticipation, the scent of Ina's apricot scrub that clung to his warm skin. She's like torturing herself. In amongst her like lustful fantasy, she's still bombarded with that like, you know, intrusive thought or knowing of his girlfriend's like, you know, kind of claim, her apricot scrub. Something about apricot that I just love as a scent, because I don't know, I love apricots, maybe that's why. And then unbidden leapt up the treacherous, most greedy thought of all. If this happening apocalypse continued, he might be meteorologically coerced into spending Valentine's Day here with me instead of her. Lovely, sweet, innocent chic Ina. And. You'll hyperventilate thinking that hard, Odin murmured, his large hand enclosing my wrist. His thumb pressed into my frantic pulse, a firm brand, grounding, escalating. Shame merged with an obscene thrill as a terrifying realization dawned on me. If I could control the weather, this exact type of violent storm would be exactly what I'd have conjured. Not altruistic sunshine. Did he know that? Was he secretly annoyed or relieved or thrilled like me over the fact that he was basically my current captive? That this was the kind of divine intervention a girl could have only ever written down in some shameful hidden diary, tremors of desire marring the loops of furtive half-smudged letters. Hey, breathe, Ada, he commanded. Thumb circling, grip tightening, torture, sheer torture. I dragged in a ragged breath, embarrassed by the audible gasp it became. The storm's temper seemed to wane for a second too. Did you... I swallowed, sound loud. Gulp. Get any of that? Wouldn't you like to know? He simpered. His thumb continued its slow, maddening circles, heating the blood underneath until it blazed and circulated its venom system-wide. Yes, I said, nodding. Yes, I'd like to know desperately, she thinks in her head. But he seemed to be done teasing me, if his inscrutable sigh was anything to go by. I can't read your mind, Ada. And then she thinks in her head, are you sure? And he responds, very sure. He released my wrist. Gravity reasserted itself, cold and disappointing. So, what now? Such an innocuous question, laden with infinite possibility. What now? My mind, treacherous and vivid, had the lurid slideshow ready. Tangled limbs on the couch, peeling off his tight singlet to expose the taut, flexing muscles beneath, following the shadowy trail of hair at his navel down to... I launched myself off the armrest before courage failed. Actually, I have a piece of my heart hoarded like treasure, she thinks in her head. A little gift for you. I don't know if I should keep going. Should I keep going? Do you want to know what the gift is? And again, you have that, like, those little snapshots of objectification from Ada's point of view. Not only because she's just that type, she's got that kind of lecherous eye, but also because, like, literally, they, like, that is how they see each other, in a way. Like, almost in these, like, disparate parts, you know? And those are the tiny snapshot fragments that we get of them because, like, we don't know anything else about them. So essentially they become these highly eroticized characters, and they're almost like mythologizing themselves and each other by doing that. You can only assume Like, you don't know what Odin's doing, but he's probably doing something similar considering the type of thing that he says. Like earlier when he's like, I get to look at you type beat. Um, and so if Odin can wrap his entire hand around Ada's wrist, yeah, one can only assume. It's like there's a lot going on through inference and a lot going on through the objectification that they're constantly doing of each other. And it's like they're not even really seeing each other as people. It's just a reflection or a vessel for their own pleasure, you know? So just like cataloging piece by piece all the parts that just like, I don't know, are stimulating for whatever reason. So you've got like the hands, like the thumb, muscles flexing, the thighs, you know, like it's like, it's great for erotic writing, but it's like just through that kind of meta language, you can tell that their relationship or whatever it is like, it's not necessarily surface level, but it is concerned with the surface, if that makes sense. Yeah, fuck, there's a better way to describe that. This prose fuck, so to speak. Yeah, it's like there's a very intentional kind of objectification going on in a way, and it could be seen as gratuitous, but I think it's probably not without, like, not without intended purpose, at least. Yeah, carving themselves into the stone of their hearts is a very beautiful way to put that. And so, yeah, it's like, if you can't have someone in the traditional way, right? Like if someone's taken, you almost have to steal what little moments you can get, right? And I think that's what Ada's doing in the little glances, the little daydreams and fantasies that she affords herself. And like, you know, she actually doesn't have the information to be able to produce those like kind of romantic or more like chaste almost fantasies, because she isn't Oda's girlfriend. She can't imagine like, those more familiar beats of intimacy. All she can really go based on is like the surface level, because that's all she really has access to, you know, at least at the start. Yeah, you're right, visibly. It's not gratuitous if it has purpose. I hope it's not purely gratuitous. But it is meant to be purposefully like, what's the word? Not invigorating, but you know what I mean? Like, it's meant to have those echoes of like, wait, hang on a minute. Is it going that kind of way? You know? Yeah, it's too much and that's the point. Like, should always keep you second guessing whether or not you're about to start reading a sex scene. Yeah, tantalizing is a fantastic word, and what a compliment. I hope that the work is worthy of such a word, but that's definitely the goal, you know? Like, engaging all the senses in the way that, like, yeah, a really nice meal or, yeah, like any kind of decadent pleasure would do. And so in that way, like, I say they, even though we only have Ada's perspective, because I'm assuming that Odin is doing something similar in his own mind, but they are commodifying each other essentially, you know? Like, taking whatever fantasy world that they're projecting and running with it as if it's real, and then trying to see how much realness they can create of it. It's not really enough to just fantasize at a certain point. And so there's like that kind of slow, transgressive pushing of boundaries. And that becomes more obvious later on in the text, but yeah. The twist ending is that the final chapter is from Odin's point of view and he's genuinely oblivious. That would be so fucking funny. Like, if he was literally just kind of like this hunky himbo that was like saying all this really suggestive stuff, but he was just like, oh, I was just like being nice. Oh god. And I think it's funny because I could definitely write him that way. I could pull him back a little bit and like have him just skirt that line of plausible deniability. in this text, he jumps wildly off the cliff, right? Um, but I think, yeah, that would be a very funny interpretation. And then the text itself becomes more about what it means to be so into someone that, in fact, your desire becomes more narcissistic than anything else. Because it's more about, like, the other person is merely just this object that you then transform with the power of your own desirousness. And the gratification then comes from, like, it's like reflexive in a way. And that's interesting too. That's a whole other like ball game, which is no less fascinating to me. Because there is a lot of latent narcissism in these characters too. You know? Like, they not only like whatever they're doing to each other for the other person's reaction, but also like whatever thing in themselves that they're validating when they do that shit. And yeah, the unreality of an affair is a great way to put it, because it's like that feeling of being so clever and like you're creating something secret and special behind someone's back that no one can ever find out about, you know? Or that idea that you're so desirable that someone's willing to break these like sacred vows. I mean, he's not married, but you know what I mean. Like, that he's willing to break a sacred contract just because, like, there's an element of narcissism there that it's like, I almost want this to be true, even though it's horrible, because what does that mean for me? Like, what does that imply about me? It's this kind of transgressive thrill that really can't be matched. So that would be very unhinged, though. It's very true. And there's another blurb here from Ben, which is fantastic. Odin and Ada is a text that's trying to be almost as magnetic and borderline evil as the characters that reside within. It's true. They do have that touch of evilness. I think even in the like second chapter, Ada mentions it. Like, she straight up just outright says that she's evil or whatever. But I think the way she frames it is like, she almost like diminishes it by saying like it's this kind of evil, it's kind of this girlish evilness, right? It's validating some kind of like inner toxic girlishness to be the other woman, so to speak. And that almost makes it sound cutesy, right? Like, oh, look at me. I'm being so bad right now. It's like what people say when they have an extra like bite of chocolate, not when they're fucking up someone's relationship. You know, but it's like, yeah, just girly things. That's so true. It's interesting to me to note how people, or at least in this case, characters, how they use language to couch what they're actually doing, like to hide what they're actually doing. You can go so far and you can delude yourself so impressively just through changing the words that you use. You could be doing the exact same thing. You could be like having an affair, for example, if we're going to use this text. And the way that you phrase it, you can almost like lawyer speak your way into believing that you're the one in the right, you know? Yeah, maybe I should have some infidelity as a treat. Just a little bit, you know, I deserve it. And like, it's interesting because, of course, the people themselves are at fault. But what, like, role does language have? Is there any level of blame that we can ascribe to the language itself? You know? Like, I think it's reasonable to have the opinion that it's just a tool like any other. But, you know, if someone can wield that tool with that level of deftness and craftiness, does that reveal a level of impressiveness somewhere? I don't know. Yeah, to be convincing and clever. Like, those are traits that are typically, if they're not used for evil, quite handy and quite, like, admirable traits. To be clever and convincing, you know? Those are the traits that go really well for, like, business deals and, like, if you're a fucking CEO and stuff like that. And so, I know there's, like, quite a bit of overlap between CEOs and, like, sociopaths, but that's a conversation for another time. It's like, is it still impressive if what the person is doing is horrible, but they're doing it well? You know what I mean? Like, there's like a decadent kernel in there somewhere. I think even Oscar Wilde may have talked about it before. You know how he has all these like little one-liners and stuff? I think he might have said something like, if you're going to do something bad, at least do it like with style or something like that. And so I think that's also a deep, deep, deep consideration of mine when I write. Because it's like, okay, I'm playing a game, essentially. How can I write something that's most fucked up while also not turning people away? Because it's more of a challenge to me than, say, writing a little cutesy story where everything is fine and happy and things go well. Though those stories can be fun too. Fluffy stories belong, I think, absolutely in the realm of literature, right? But like once you graduate from that and you feel relatively competent in writing those fluffy cutesy stories, like you got to like up the ante, right? And it's almost like a game where you can see how far you can actually push it. Not just for gratuity's sake, like we're talking about, but for genuine sport and genuine interest, like if you're interested in the topic, you know? Yeah, Balatro it up is exactly right. And so, not just to write a character who does evil things, because that's very easy. Just have a fucking, like, have a character that, like, blows up a hospital or something, you know? That's pretty evil, and fuck him, you know? But to have a character who does something evil, and does it in such a way that you kind of feel a bit bad because it was like either fun to watch or like there was a little bit of something in there that was kind of thrilling, you know? Maybe the way they did it was just so interesting and compelling that you want to read more. And that's actually it's crazy. This is a whole thing in and of itself as well. But there's this idea in decadent literature about aesthetics over ethics. That idea that you can dress something up prettily enough that it can supersede ethics, right? Or that our ethics can be necessarily aesthetics concerned. And so there's kind of this like very simplistic explanation of what that actually means. I can't remember who said this quote, but it was like, you know, most people don't really care if they step and kill on a cockroach. If they step on and kill a cockroach, you know, but they would be upset if they stepped on and killed a butterfly. So our ethics have aesthetic considerations, you know? And it's like those two instances, they're both creatures of the world, you know? They both have, if you think in terms of this way, equal right to exist in the world and not be like kind of acted upon by us. But butterflies are beautiful. That's right. And cockroaches are not. And so our ethical concerns, even if we don't realize it at times, they have aesthetics at least somewhere in the picture, you know? And of course it is a simplistic quote because there's things to be said about like what each thing does and like their role in the fucking food chain and all that shit. You know what I mean? But it's like, it's a good way to really quickly snap that way of thinking into frame. Because like, oh yeah, actually we do take people's appearances into account all the time. We do like let people get away with things or not, depending on how they look, right? So aesthetics over ethics, while at first glance it seems really abhorrent, because this was like a whole philosophy back in the kind of decadent era. Like we're not really that far removed from that whole line of thinking, even if we think we are. Like we deem ourselves to be more evolved than that. We really aren't, to be honest. And so it's quite interesting stuff. Yeah, you got to looks max, that's right, to get into your bank robbing days. But I think it's even like proven that more attractive people that go to court to get sentenced often come away with lighter punishments, you know? Which is kind of fucked, you know? But in terms of writing, it's more like a fun little loophole. How much can I get away with here? Like, how much can I let my characters get away with before someone kind of pulls me back and is like, hang on, that's not like believable or that's not justifiable. It's not going to work. It's cool. It's there's no clear-cut line, but it can be quite challenging in a fun way. So that Luigi fellow was quite attractive. Honestly, free Luigi. But yeah, does that make sense? So I'm not just trying to justify the blatant objectification of the male body in this piece of writing, though that is, of course, like, it's a thing that is there. Um, but I do think it serves a purpose besides just being eye candy, you know? I mean, Odin is described as eye candy based on what she says, like his throat and his abs or whatever. But like, yeah, it's revealing how fucking obsessed she is. That she's seeing him as a catalogue of different parts. Probably because she can't have those parts. And because she has no kind of knowledge about the person he actually is beyond how he looks. You know? Yeah. I neatly sidestepped the is that justifiable question by just putting up a big banner that says no, they're the villain. That's fun too. And look, writing just like a clear-cut villain can be quite like it can be quite thrilling as well because it feels transgressive. It's like, oh, I can just make this guy fucking suck. Like, I can make him a total douchebag. Or I can make him quite morally questionable. And you don't have to go through the process of trying to woo the reader. But for me, I've found it to be fun to at least attempt, and that's why I end up with these characters who do all these messy things and like who still have that little center of humanity within them that at least hopefully makes them feel like not a totally lost cause, you know? You kind of see them, or I kind of see them as like pitiful extensions of the worst of us or the worst of me, you know? And so there's a bit of catharsis in writing a character like that too. These two characters, I think, both come from a place in me that exists, you know? Like, sometimes I think about, oh, okay, if I was the worst, the absolute worst version of myself, like couldn't basically get any lower, what would I be like? What kind of person would I be like? And sometimes that thought is quite anxiety inducing because it feels sometimes like it's not really that far away. Like I could somehow just end up sliding into that. And so I write it out and it helps me feel like I'm maybe a bit more in control of not doing that sort of thing. Even though it's like pretty easy. It's pretty fucking easy not to do this sort of thing. But you know what I mean? Like it's this irrational fear that, I don't know, one day I'll just wake up and suddenly be a fucking villain. But maybe it's just about taking something that exists and exaggerating it so it seems less scary. You know, weirdly enough, the catastrophizing makes its actualness feel small, you know. And that in a weird way is comforting. And so these two characters, yeah, they're basically like the worst version of me. Like they're different fragmented versions of me. If I were to follow the bad villainousness of it all the way down. Does that make sense? There's a lot more to it than that too. It would be kind of narcissistic to just have a piece of writing that's only about your own psyche. I'd like to believe at least it's talking about more than just that. But that's certainly a consideration too. You know? Yeah, I could become evil and destroy the world, but it sounds like a lot of work. As for the kind of villain that's the worst, in terms of like morally, I think it's pretty clear cut. Like there's some of those fucking unforgivable sins, you know, harming others, especially children, in a particularly grievous way. But in terms of like the craft of writing or creating a character, I think the worst villain is maybe the not useless, but like useless to the actual plot one. If you're gonna write a villain, make them actually make a difference, give them an actual personality, and yeah, the one who's boring. That's a great way to put it. Because when it comes to the text, and here's where aesthetics over ethics comes in again, it like morals really don't apply when it comes to text. It's about the entertainment value, I suppose, or about serving the story to the nth degree. If something serves the story, like it basically needs to happen. Like it needs to go in, essentially. Even if it's kind of like, whoa, that's a bit, how's your father? Anyway, that's funny. Fuck, it's one. Okay, I actually need to get going, guys. I've overstayed my welcome. there is so much more to talk about when it comes to these guys, and I will read to you the next little bit of it maybe next time if you guys are interested. Always only if you're interested. But I need to get my ass into gear. So I'll kindly depart for today. We'll do affirmations, of course. And see you guys tomorrow, most likely. I'm not sure what time. I've been free balling it right now. But somewhere in amongst it all, and I will try, because I think I missed it in the week that I've started now, to like send a little alert. Because of the kind of random nature of these, sometimes I just don't even realize I'm streaming until I start. So, I'm going to a little party, I guess, like a mafia game party type beat thing where you all play and people kill you. Anyway, yes, we will have words, many of them, some spelled correctly, some of them artfully disorganized. Before I go, this is my little departing message to you guys, the affirmations. Affirmations. And also, last time I did it without looking, so I'm going to try and do it again, but if I fuck up, I'm sorry. Okay. From the lovely Amy Walker, to me, to you, it's my pleasure to tell you, yes. Yes, you are. You are ready. You are equipped. You are connected. You are unique. I always wonder if it's like that. Go that way. You are gorgeous. You are loved. And most importantly, you are alive. So, thank you for being here with me in this stream. More importantly, being here with me in general. Did I swap those two? I might have. I am so grateful and gratified and all the great G words to get the wonderful privilege of hanging out with you guys, especially when it's something so self-indulgent as this. I'll see you tomorrow, and so until then, please take care. Hugs and kisses, cugs and hisses, behave, or at the very least don't get caught. We'll be back for more thirstiness and nerdy ass ramblings before you know it. So bye-bye now. Bye.